Baby, so go. Gagaramis. Baby, so go. Gagaramis. Baby, so go.
Gagaramis. Baby, so go. Gagaramis. Baby, so Gagaramis. Baby, so go. Gagaramis. Baby, so go.
Baby, so go.
The following is a presentation of iRacing on PTR TV. We'd like to thank all of our channel partners for their support. Please like and subscribe to the channel, and we hope you enjoy today's broadcast.
Dover, Delaware. The 1 mile, 24 degree concrete oval used to be asphalt up until 1992, but since it's been changed to concrete, it's been known as White Lightning, and it's a track that every driver loves or fears. Miles the Monster stands outside of turn 4 with a car in hand as he eats cars alive here, as there's no room to hide and super high speeds galore. Welcome everyone to PTR TV for tonight's race for the 100% Cup Series in their Division 2 campaign here, right at the Monster Mile. Per usual, going to be myself, Corey Silva, in the booth, along with Jeffrey Souza, driver turned commentator, to help me out here with these Friday races. And well, we've seen, I mean, we gotta be straight shooters, Jeffrey. The past month of racing has been a little bit chaotic with the amount of yellows we've seen, a lot of the wrecks we've seen, and we're at a track that is super difficult, and I wonder how many cars Miles the Monster is going to consume here on the evening.
Yeah, this track is extremely tough to just hit one lap on for qualifying, like we're seeing a couple of guys do right now. It's even tougher to hit consistent laps during a race, and at this place, like you said, Miles will eat you up quick. If you miss the line a little bit, it's very easy to get out of the groove and into the wall and possibly take a bunch of cars with you.
Yeah, that is the case, and I know I haven't got to turn laps here, but I have read what you've been saying in the Discord, as well as what other drivers have said. This car at Dover has been an absolute handful, and I know I've read some C-Fix chatter that the right front is melting off faster than Frosty the Snowman in springtime. So what kind of challenges is the handling and is this next gen going to have here monstering this racetrack? No pun.
Yeah, we got a hot track temp to start the race. You know, like we said, the track started off clean. You know, there was no rubber on the track before practice. They did get about an hour worth of practice in the track. It is rubbered in a little bit, but different than we usually have to deal with compared to, like, you know, a normal asphalt type of track where it rubbers in and it starts green but rubbers in quick. It's concrete. It's not going to do that. It's going to take some time to get this track rubbered in, and the more green track you have at a concrete track, is the front tires are just going to feel like basketballs, and they are going to wear and wear and wear until we get some rubber in the track. And even after we do, they're still going to wear. So it's going to be a tire management race for sure.
Yeah, this is one of the few tracks that I don't know if it'll happen here, because the way iRacing does work, you kind of have to go down to 0% here. I just missed a goal by the Bruins. Goes out to 0% before the tire actually blows here, but this is one of the very few tracks where there is a plausible possibility to wear that tire down to a 0% value, and we'll see if that happens here. But you can see Pat Gitter on the top of the board here in qualifying, just over Simmons. I don't recognize that name. That is Dan Simmons. So we got a couple newcomers to the league. Again, part of the 100% Division 2 series is getting the permission to run on Saturday nights, and you have to do that by having a safe and respectful night here on Friday night in Division 2. So we'll see how some of these new guys do fare, but that timer coming down to 0, so that will be nothing more for us than to thank everyone for tuning in here to PTR TV. If it's your first time, don't make it your last. on our road to try to hit 1,000 subscribers. We have a ways to go. You'd be surprised how many people who watch these races have not hit that button. So we just ever so graciously ask you to help us out in that capacity. But let's head down trackside and give you that PTR TV starting lineup here today from the Monster Mile. Starting this race from position number 1, as alluded to, Pat Gitter out of Racing Country, Charlotte, North Carolina. As a matter of fact, Dan Simmons outside of the front row. Chris James in 3rd, Andrew Dyson rolling off in 4th, the Aussie. Jamie Knopp in 5th, and then Rob Carroll, a newcomer, in the 6th spot. 7th and 8th finds regular driver in both series, Kyle Lehman. Matt DeCunha in 8th. And then rounding out our top 10, commentator on Saturday is Nick Stein, and then Dalton Mobley.
Rolling off in the 11th spot with Robert Anderson with Charles Eaton, another newcomer, in 12th. Joshua Slade, saw him last week. He'll start 13th with Thomas Wolfe to his outside in 14th. Rob Tracy will be starting 15th in the 68 with Jared Bundy in 16th. With JC Gibson, had a good run last week. See if he can do that again. With Clifton Cockrell in 18th. And then Wayne Grassi on the inside of the 10th row, and Tanner Marty on the outside.
Then rounding out, actually, we have plenty of drivers left. Xander Short, 21st. Darren Mullins, another newbie, in 22nd. Pat Mouche, 23rd. Dave Fuge, turning out to a track that's done a speedway. That's a newbie. 24th. Randy Drumhill, 25th. Nick Pressey in the 94, my personal number, in 26th. Then we have Corey Harville, 27th. Lucas Abreu in 28th, and rounding out our top 30, Adam Benefield, of course, starting in the back by design, and then Neil Pearson. Remember, he had that Richmond race nearly locked up in 30th.
Yeah, I think this race, we're going to see Jason Taylor starting from the back, 31st. You're going to see DL Lemon in 32nd, with Demaris Hickenbottom in 33rd, and Daniel Wall in 34th. And then you got Corey Mott 36, Lucas Nels in 37th, and that'll be the end of the field. We're going to have a full field. This is going to be an interesting race. Quick note here, we do have a few cautions we'll know will be flying tonight. We got a stage end at 45 and then at 90 for this 200 lap race here. You're going to have to hang on, I think, for this. So this is going to be a long race and hopefully a pretty hard fought race.
Yep, and 4 sets of good years on the wall. It ends up making Fridays, even though they're shorter races, ends up making them harder on the strategy call because of the fact that you have less tires per laps to actually deal with here. So interesting issues there. But the lights out on the pace car. Only got one little lap around the Dover Speedway, Motor Speedway that is, for a pace lap. Pat Gitter in that 28 is going to get him going here from the number 28 car on that left side. Very difficult track on restarts here, with that restart zone being placed in the middle of a corner here, right on corner exit. Barney has the flag in hand, and that's the green flag. We're racing at the Monster Mile.
Down to turn 1, Getter with a solid lead over Chris James. First battle side by side. That's Knopf and Simmons. Simmons going to give way, but now he's got Kyle Ammon on his inside down the back stretch.
Now, can we get ourselves situated here into some good green flag action? Well, your guess is as good as ours. And very difficult track. Everyone's going to be fighting to get themselves in single file because in this current iteration of Dover, multi-group, not so much of existence here. Kyle Ammon there in that black machine. Oh, big wiggle by Stein on the inside. That's going to woe him up into the clutches of Andrew Dyson in the 05 car. You can see a couple different lines at play, but you're not going to see guys going up to the wall, but you may see some guys wrap at the bottom or maybe doing the old diamond line.
Yeah, and I remember when I used to run this track, when I liked running this track, you used to have to run that line. You drive it in right on the bottom line, you drift up about a lane and a half, and then you'd be able to get a really good run coming up and off the corner. Not so much that now with this type of car, but there's still that second lane that you can run if you start losing tires and have a lot of momentum coming off the turn. But it looks like right now the bottom lane is where everyone wants to be.
Yeah, but still have some guys fighting for that bottom lane, that is. That's Wayne Grassi to the inside of, I believe that was Robert Tracy in the 68, that we should have a big point put on car numbers being correct here, so we shouldn't have any liveries that do not match the overlays. Damaris basically said if that happens, you're getting the boot, unless it was his fault. So we'll see if that does come into fruition, and I think we do have a battle a little bit further up here. A couple guys that are all over the place, all the way to the top of the track. The blue car, that was Jamie Knopf. He was all the way up in the loose stuff and caused him to lose some positions, as Nick Stein seems to be man on a mission here, up to P3, right on the back bumper of the 42 of Chris James.
Yeah, and he's racing hard here. I know we only have 45 laps in the stage, and I think everybody else knows that, obviously, too. But over 45 laps, you can do a number on these tires. Earlier this week, running some laps, I did a couple 25, 30 lap runs, and, you run maybe a second faster in that first 15 laps than you do on another run, and you have nothing left after 30. You're starting to get tight. You're starting to break loose. So these guys are going to try their best to get those positions, and then maybe now fall in line and just try to take care of their stuff, get track position, then take care of everything.
I was just going to make a point of that there, Jeffrey, is that here at Dover, a lot of these Xfinity length races, such as what we cover here, the runs and the stages, they're not long enough to be really conducive to tire saving, but at the same time, they're long enough that you can't push it the entire time. Oh, let's pause that thought, because we are under yellow. Pat Mouchet boogied himself to the inside back straightaway fence here. Let's go back, try to make some sorts out of what happened to him. Oh, we had a little bit of an accordion at play there, and then he just lost it as it coagulated onto the back straightaway here. Get one more look at that if we can from a higher up perspective, perhaps.
Yeah, it looks like, he drives in here, has to check up a little bit for the 40. 64 checks up a little bit for him, and then the two-car Bundy doesn't get the message kind of there, that accordion, as you were saying, and bump, 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 and Mooch, obviously, the last car to get bumped.
We'll say for a Dover impact on a straightaway, that was a very, very light impact, so he should be okay there. I will be perfectly transparent. I am watching a hockey game right now that has literally had 5 goals in the last 10 minutes, and my favorite team is going under. So if I'm distracted for the next 5.5 minutes, I do apologize for that. But again, 10 laps into this race, we did see Nick Stein making the, or Steen perhaps, making the best surge of the race thus far, going from 9th to 2nd just in a matter of 10 laps. But as we alluded to, is that a matter of his long run speed, or is he just shooting out of a cannon and maybe paying for that towards the end of this stage? I guess only time will be the answer to that question.
Yeah, and this caution, I think, benefits him. You get a little bit of time here to cool those tires down. You got your positions, and now you have that track position. You're up front. You don't need to fight as much when you get green here. Try to just find a line and get there and save your stuff for the rest of the run. We're going to have probably 30, 32 or so, 33 once we do get the one to go here. So a lot of time left, but at the same time, 30 laps around a 1 mile track is not too long.
As I was kind of saying on the pace lap, kind of in the same vein, sometimes these races that we cover on Fridays actually puts a little bit more stress on the driver and the pseudo crew chief than the Saturday races, because we are, I think probably tomorrow, if I had to guess, is probably like 7 or 8 sets on the wall. So you have enough, you have longer stages, you're not going to have multiple pits probably in one stage, but you only have 4 sets of tires at a track that is super tire wear conducive. So there's going to be a pit stop, a caution. There's going to be a pit stop that you want to take that you're probably going to have to pass on, because you're just not going to have the good years to play with.
Yeah, and in that same tow there, you think about it later in the race, if someone does end up saving an extra set, and they can pit with 20 laps to go with a fresh set. And, yeah, exactly. You pull a Pearson. You have the extra set, or you take the extra set and hope everybody else stays out for you. So these tires do fall off, not a ridiculous amount, over about 30, 35 laps, you're probably going to have about a second and a half of fall off at least. So they do fall off a decent amount, and if you can get fresh tires and put that thing right around the bottom line when everyone else is struggling to hold on to it, it's going to be pretty easy to get by them.
Yeah, but on the same vein, Dover, while you can kind of wait for the mistake, Dover is not a track that you're just going to, go auto club and, go 5 wide on the fence and pass a whole line. You're going to pick them off 1 or 2 at a time at most here, probably 1 or 2 a lap if you're lucky. So you don't want to put yourself in a spot where you need the spots in a very short amount of laps, because that will be a difficult feat to endure here. But lights are out on that iRacing pace car, and we have the 28 and the 82. What's the thing for that when they're backwards? There's a thing for that. We got the 28 and the 82. Let's flip the numbers, and that encompasses our front row there. James and Jamie Knopf in row number 2. Interesting to see if Stein has anything for Gitter. As that speed in that 82 has been there, at least in these opening few laps, but the pace car will come in again. Stein's probably going to have a very hard time on that outside lane. I expect that outside lane to be very, very detrimented here in the Geico restart zone. But let's see what happens heading into such zone. We'll wait for Gitter to get this race back underway. There he does go. And just as expected, Stein didn't get a great start, and I think he will still keep second.
Yeah, huge jump for Gitter. He'll easily get to the lead. Stein easily into second. Chris James into third. First battle's back there for the 4th position. Dyson trying to take it away from Knopf. He's got the preferred line right there into turn 3. See if Knopf gives it to him. He's not going to. He's going to force the issue, and looks like he's going to clear him coming off turn 4. Try to at least.
Now they're still going to be side by side, which does nothing except stress out and make the drivers behind kind of frustrated and eager, because they know that they're being held up here on board with the back of Chris James. Look at the run that JD Knopf had off the 2, heading down the back here, not going up the track, trying to get some clean air on the nose, trying to do the Dover Diamond, but couldn't quite cut it to the bottom on exit, perhaps due to some of the dirty air there, so that will stump the run. Dyson pulls right to the back bumper, and then we have Rob Harrell, I think in the 26, if we're saying that right. Good newcomer to the series, showing some speed very early on, but look what we got up front. We do have a battle for the lead.
Yep, Stein all over the back bumper of Gitter. We'll see what Gitter does here, if he thinks it's smarter to just let him go here early, or if he's going to put up a fight. Looks like Stein's ready to use that chrome horn if Gitter does put up a fight, so we'll see how they go down into turn 3.
Oh, he's gonna dive it. And without very much contestment, Gitter's going to... Oh, I thought Gitter was going to roll over and play dead. Very much not the case. He's going to try to pull the outside link, get the momentum, and he's going to shut the door and retain the lead heading off into 1 and 2.
Yeah, and if you're Gitter right now, you'll be racing tomorrow. You'll be racing teammates of Stein. He won't be racing, obviously, be in the box for the broadcast, but he'll be racing teammates of his up front. So you want to see what you can do short run. Will you need to gain speed tomorrow for your short run to compete with those guys? Or are you just going to lay back here and try to not exactly show them what you have tomorrow? Maybe, you want to just take care of your stuff and say, I think I can deal with it. You race hard for 2 laps, and then you give it to them and drive away. We'll see. Still holding on to the lead. Let's get it.
And that's a big strategy by Adam Benefield in these races, is he doesn't try to show all of his cards. He just tries to show a couple and get the important practice out of the session. So speaking of which, Benefield up to the 21st position from starting there pretty close to the back of the grid. But this is one of the best battles, if not the best battle on circuit at the moment. And Stein just trying to get whatever clean air he can. Again, this version of Dover and iRacing, back in the day, you could kind of go up to the 3rd lane. Not so much here at this current iteration. You're kind of confined to the first lane and a half. And with the dirty air here, it does make it hard to get enough downforce on the front end to get that drive you need.
Yeah, and one thing that these guys have to deal with, that I've had to deal with here this week, is when you drive down in this corner, a lot of those guys in real life, they compare it to a roller coaster because of how much it drops going in the banking compared to a lot of the tracks that we deal with where, it's flat down a straightaway. and you go up into the banking. It's kind of the opposite here, where you have banking on the straightaway and you kind of drop into even more banking going in the corner, and that really takes a big load on the car. And if you don't have the right spring shock package here, that transition can be extremely aggressive and get the car very upset going in the corner.
I will say this was one of the first tracks that I drove in VR when I had it. And in VR, you really feel that set feeling. It's that feeling of you're on a plane and the pilot starts descending but doesn't let you know, and all of a sudden you just feel your stomach just go up to your throat. And you just do that this entire race, essentially. But here he comes with that run off of 2, took it down the back, and Gitter not rolling over and playing dead. He's going to use that outside. It's not the fastest lane by yourself as he gets within inches of the wall. I think Dyson did hit the wall back there in 4th. The outside is good enough to hang on, but it's not good enough to run solo. So he's using that defensive lane and bogging him down, and it's keeping him in P1.
Yeah, it's tough to pass here, especially this early on with tire wear, you know, only around 18 and 20 laps on green flag laps right now. It's tough to pass people in general at Dover, but when you have tires as quote-unquote fresh as these are right now, it's going to take a lot of strength to get by these guys. And, you know, once you get to that 30, 40 lap range on tires, you're going to see a good split on where people are. But right now, those guys pretty much hitting lap times equal to each other lap for lap. You're not going to pass somebody running the same times as them.
Yeah, you are not, and currently have some good battling there later in the top 10 as we'll keep an eye on the telemetry up front. But that is the 77 Dalton Mobley with Dan Simmons in the 06 just behind. And then you have Josh Slade just ahead of that. So some good battling going on here. But again, everyone's still kind of stuck and just not really having the air to make these passes, not having the line. And once you do get side by side, as we saw, you just get stuck and you really can't go anywhere. So it comes, I guess it kind of comes to that point where you really need that extreme tire wear to open up those mistakes to make passing a little bit more viable.
Yeah, but we're quickly closing in on 15 to go on the stage. Like you said, Getter's still out front, holding on, clean lead, about 2/10 right now. There's a lot of battles going on in track everywhere else, though, as we do see that tire wear start to become a factor. 2 wide, we saw, I think, a little bit of 3 wide there. As some of these guys realize they don't have anything left here in the tank, they're moving up out of the way. They're being safe and being smart this early in the race. Well on to them, but it's a battle right now for every spot you can get coming up to the caution.
Now, that's Brad DeCiani just relinquishing a spot, rather gaining a spot over Dalton Mobley. But just going through the pack, we go all the way back to the 20s, and we still see single file. We see Corey Mott in that 22, and then the side-by-side just in front of him, I think that's Harville and Jason Taylor, Jedi Jason Taylor, back there in 25th. So we'll expect a little bit more out of him on the evening, but could just be short in the moment. Xander Short, I didn't play that punt at all there, but that's segued at all, but he's in the 20th spot, going high and allowing some people by as he gets into the fence there. Turn 4, turn 2, exiting the corners here at Dover. Very, very difficult the way that they come right out at you. And he's testing out the Larson line, and quick answer to that question. It doesn't work here. It's Henry, so you may want to go a little lower than that.
Yeah, this track is tough. Like I said, it's really, really tough. And with this current tire package and this car package, like you said, like we said earlier, you know, there isn't really a multi-groove lane. You know, you can run maybe the first lane, then the second lane, maybe longer in the run. But compared to how we used to be able to run the first 3 lanes or so competitively, that bottom lane is where you want to be unless you're trying to get past. And if you're getting past, then yeah, you can go to that top lane and pinch the guy off the corner, but to make passes and to make time, you want to be right around that bottom line there, right around the asphalt.
And we saw that how hard Nick Stein was trying to get by here as a big gaggle for position on Clifton Cockrell. I think he's had 2 top 5s in a row. As I remember talking to him quite regularly, Jared Bundy getting underneath, Neil Pearson not having one of those runs we've seen of him late where he's been up in the top 5, but still that could change. But You know, Stein was trying so hard to get by, and either it's because he had the short run car or he used up everything he had, because he was stuck at the back bumper for 15-20 laps and couldn't get by, and now here he comes falling back to a second or so as we're about 10 laps in the stage.
It's definitely showing up now that some people that were good early are now dropping back, losing time pretty quickly, to be honest. And like you said, 0.2 that time Getter had Stein, even with a little bit of a bobble. So like I said, lap time, 30, 35 laps in, you're going to see who has the better car, who took care of their stuff. And right now, obviously, Getter gapping Stein and everybody else is the fastest car.
Yeah, last time by, you saw Dyson just about a 10th faster on Stein, and visually you could just see how much he is gaining, and we'll see what the watch says that time by. A little bit more uniform amongst your top 10. Still Dyson, or rather Getter, only one in the 8s, everybody else in the 9. You can see Benefield there, actually I think the fastest on the track last time by, but he is back in the 10th position, which is not a knock at all, because based on where he started here on the evening, up 19 spots since this race progressed. That's only in 38 laps, and about 2 of those being under the yellow flag.
Yeah, and it's tough to pass here, like we said. And Benefield has made it look easy. Coming from the rear, just kind of take care of his stuff early there, and now taking care of business, picking him up, putting him down. I don't know if he's going to get to Mobley for 9th, but top 10 in this first stage after starting where he started, you got to be happy with that.
Yeah, typically, I mean, there's been many, hard impact into the fence there for Nick Stein off of 2. Whether it was a right rear slide or a right front push, don't know which one it was, but he's going to be testing that carbon fiber body. You can see the big slide to the entirety of the corner, and let's hit the wall on the straightaway too for good measure. So definitely that 82 on Struggle Street here as the end of the stage commences, and Andrew Dyson trying to take full advantage of it. Worth noting that I think everybody should stay on the lead lap with 5 to go. Actually, it might be a question mark there, because you can see Nick Pressey and DeMar. Nick Pressey is right on the cusp here, so I think Nick Pressey will be surpassed. Damaris, I think, may be safe, so we'll see how that works out for the free pass situation.
Crazy thing to note here, we were talking about how fast Benefield was. He does get by Mobley for 9th, and he is 1/10 to 2/10 faster than Getter right now. So even coming from the back like he did, having to deal with all that dirty air, he is flying right now, trying to pass everybody basically. It's crazy how fast he is right now.
And of course, it's not like that this series is like a dud series. I don't know what the SOF is for this. I didn't catch it in the loading screen before the race started, but I would have to gather the SOF of this race is still that there in the mid to high 2000s, if not higher. So you're not fighting against some slouches. You're fighting against good competition. To come up from that bad of a starting spot up to 9th in 40 laps on a tough track is that's definitely proven something.
Yeah, we know Benefield is a fast car.
Is he a fast
always
car,
good.
or is he a fast driver?
He's got a fast car, and he's a fast driver.
Is he just a car by nature? He is physically a car.
These days, you know what? How we've been seeing him go through these fields, he might just be a car.
I guess in this new world, you can identify as a car, right? So. Yeah, let's not open that can of worms till after 11 o'clock. That's when we go off the Richter scale here on PTR TV. But the white flag is out for the stage. Getter by 2.6 seconds. Does have the lead. Pressey did go a lap down, and it looks like Llewellyn will stay safe there. So we still have 33 on the lead lap. That is first to take the stage. We'll wait for 10th, which is Dalton Mobley. This should be the one that Barney does dictate the yellow flag for. And there it is, right on cue.
Yeah, and I think a lot of these guys are probably on the radio going, please Give me this change. Give me that change. Give me 4 fresh tires, please. And one car probably saying, hey, I would have been fine with this going green. Well, we got 2, I think, right now. You probably have Benefield, who would have been happy with it staying green, but Getter extending that lead as he was, he probably would have been completely fine if we would have just kept on running laps.
Yeah, I believe so here, and we'll see how it does fare. We will have one run that will be required for a pit stop. That'll be stage number 3, where if it magically goes green, then you may have some strategy at play here. And the way that this is going, it very well may, because we've only had 1 caution for cause here thus far, and it was some pretty clean sailing, which is a very good change of pace given how the last month has been. But let's find ourselves in the pit lane here at the Dover Speedway, and everybody will come to their crew on one of the slowest pit roads, not even just in sim racing, in reality here, a arduous 35 miles an hour down this super long pit road.
This pit road is awful, and that's the best way to describe it. It's extremely easy to speed, especially coming out of your box. It's, you know, even if you're Patrick Getter, which has to go maybe 2 car lengths to get to his to that exit cone, it is so easy to speed at this track just because you don't feel like you're going fast at all. And you know, there you see that line, and it looks like Getter will keep the lead. Very close, but Dyson's like going to gain a few spots. He'll be 3rd.
It almost seemed like, and this may have been a speeding thing, that Stein slowed down there at the very end, because I know I've been bit by this, and I'm not sure if it was here at Dover. Actually, it may have been at Martinsville, because there's a couple pit roads where the run from the last pit stall, the first pit stall is how you want to say it, to the cone is just long enough that you will get right to, if not a mile or 2 over the speed limit. So you're matting it, but at the same time you can't mat it the whole way. You're right at that cusp, and Dover is kind of right in that category.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. It's just so tough to get off pit road here. You want to get all the spots you can, especially if you're coming off side by side with somebody. It's so easy to just misjudge your speed, and then all of a sudden now you have to restart at the back of this field, which end of the line right now, you're restarting 34th. That's how many cars we have still rolling right now. That would be a bad time if you ask me. If you ask that at Benefield, he'll probably be fine with that. But for me, I'm not too happy starting back there.
But he's back at the 9th spot. I think is basically an even pit stop for him. Of course, 4 tires from just about everybody. So let's put the mental note. Everybody has 3 sets of tires left in the race, and they will be taking another one almost certainly at lap 90. So that'll be 2, which means you're going to have essentially 2 sets of tires to last you for stage 3. One of them is a guarantee, because you'll have to pit at least one. So you can effectively think that there's one quote-unquote strategy set that everybody has in this race. And I know there was one, I think it was Dover. We saw Lucas Hoytsma kind of take the strategy set to win a stage, and it ended up murdering him when it came to winning the race. He was in a very bad position there. I think he even went a lap down. So you really, even if a caution comes out within this stage 2, I just don't think there's any way that anybody else is going to be able to come into pit, because you're kind of stuck until the next stage.
Yeah, I was back at Bristol, and like you said, I don't see that happening right now for the stage. 40 laps left in the stage. All these cars that are still on the lead lap after, I don't think we had any wave rounds, but you're going to have still the majority of this field on the lead lap here. So even if you got a caution in 25 laps that set up a 10 lap gap to the end, I don't see anybody pitting with the idea to make up spots. If you get that late yellow and you can pit and then have to pit at the end of the stage, then maybe. But to get stage points, I think your best bet's just stay out and take the track position.
Yep, that's what you're going to have to do. So you're going to have to make those Goodyear Eagles nice and happy so that they can last an entire duration here. But for this up-and-coming restart, what we are going to do is go quiet here and have some temporarily loud engines. back here after some temporarily loud engine sounds. Hope you did enjoy that here. And still clean and green. And oh, here comes Stein again. Let's see how much pressure he puts. Let's see if he's able to make that pass and use the Goodyears before they get a little bit expired as they did on the first run.
Yeah, and like we said, a lot of that could be clean air. You know, if you're getter, you've had that clean air this whole time. You haven't had to worry about any dirty air, anybody taking away that extra downforce of being, you know, that first car. So if Stein gets out front now, could he go and trail away from the field with the clean air? I don't know if he could, but we might be able to see it here in a minute.
And Worth, we could see 4th spot. Carroll, fastest on the track last time by.
And we got trouble. Trouble, I think,
Charles,
down the backstretch again.
80 of Charles Eaton is undergoing some orientational issues there with his vehicle. Well, DL Lemon, the Bitcoin mobile, makes a look inside 1 and 2. Everything seems fine so far, and a little bit of contact.
You got a little bit of help there.
And some. Now, it's hard to tell here. We'll go on board one more time. He had some connectivity issues there once he started spinning. Now, whether he, for all we know, he could have been blinking on DL's side this whole time. It's kind of hard to tell there. It could have been a netcode like caused incident, or maybe DL just turned him. I don't quite know there, but all actions in play. But regardless of how you look at it, we are under our 3rd yellow flag of the race, I do believe.
Yep, and very similar to that first stage. It's this yellow comes within that first 7 or 8 laps again. So if we continue that rhythm from the first stage, we're gonna go green to the end of this one, hopefully.
Well, we'll see how it is here, and I am just full transparency. Trying, if you hear me, I'm trying to mute my coughs. I know you're hearing them, Jeffrey. But they 1 or 2 might slip through on the stream here. Allergies starting to get the best of me. Post-nasal drip basically means I coughed non-stop here, so we are doing our best on some cough drops here. So hear a different tone of my voice. That is the explanation as to why. But I think somebody there getting their free pass, and let me try to see if I can deduce who it is. Dave Fuge Jr. He is. I didn't see anything that happened to him, but he was currently 4 laps down, so he will get, well, he was 5, now he's 4, so something obviously happened to him in that number 11 car, but he will, I mean, I don't think this is going to be a Bristol where you can get, 10 laps back, so we'll see if he can fare better with that, but we'll see. Let's see if the pace car gives us 1 to go. Nope, we're going to be pacing for at least 2 more circuits around.
Yeah, this is the tough track. I've seen a couple races this week be pretty messy, but so far these guys have been giving each other a lot of room, and that's something that Damaris has said this past week and a half or so. We need to start giving each other a lot more room, being smart and using our heads, and I think a lot of these guys have taken that to heart, and even the guys that are new this week, we haven't really had to talk about them doing anything, risky so far. You have Rob up there in 4th, a couple guys on iRacing. If you run official races, A Opens, and so you're going to know that name. He'll be up front most of the time. Simmons, I think his first race was last week. He's having another solid run back there in the top 10. So these guys that are new, they're taking this message to heart. They're being smart, and they're using their heads.
Yeah, because you have to. I mean, they know when they watch the broadcast over that we're basically roasting the number of cautions, and our patience level is kind of going to 0. And that's just us here in the booth. So, the drivers, especially the drivers who don't cause any of the problems, they kind of feel, they'll feel the exact same way. You'll have the Benefields of the world, you'll have the Gitters of the world, who aren't really at the root of the problems, who are like, oh my god, again? Oh my god, can we get driving? And it gets to a point where everybody gets sick of it, and it just turns into a, the league has to get into it at a more serious level, and at the same time the drivers just start to basically tell each other off and say, you better get your stuff together. And I think a culmination of such has given us a, all in all, cleaner run to what we've had in subsequent weeks.
Yep, and we're gonna get ready to go green here once again. It's gonna be 30 to go left of the stage, so another quick short shoot message. We'll see exactly what these guys want to do, how much they're gonna fight, and if Stein can finally get back getter when we go green.
And good to know. Adam Benefield texting and driving here on our YouTube chat, looking for some recognition within our chat. So you're getting it there, boss, and we'll see what you can do from that 9th spot. But Stein and Gitter been up front basically for the last 3 attempts at a restart, and we'll do it once more. You know Stein wants to get by. He has that short run speed, but once Gitter gets out there, he is out to lunch, and he's going to get that good restart again. Again, the outside is terrible here to start in here at Dover. Green flag in the air, and they are shuffling there later in the field.
Yeah, these guys, like we said, these restarts are the best chance to get positions, as Kyle Hammond almost gives the bumper there to Grassy, and a little bit of a door going down into turn 3, and this is going to get tight off the corner.
Yeah, because, not a lot of room to fight here, and, Hammond, one of those guys, I think I called him a few weeks ago, the Jimmy Spencer of the league. He's going to wash right up there. You get Kyle Hammond mad, it's going to stick with you, not just for the race. It's going to stick with you for a few weeks here. So he's going to get right to the back bumper. That's Lucas Abreu just in front of him, and now they're both stuck with Wayne Grassy to the outside. You can see just in front of that, Chris James and Jamie Knott battling for the 5th position, and then just ahead of that, Andrew Dyson and Rob Carroll. And look at Knopf all the way down there to the inside wall.
Yeah, he got really loose, and he's going to lose a couple spots here, but similar to what we saw a couple weeks ago at Bristol, you have some guys that are willing to go up there and run that top lane, and a lot of other guys just want to get in line on the bottom and save their tires. And, as I ran the Saturday night race on in 100% at Bristol, a lot of people would run that bottom lane and save tires early, and I was one of those guys that would say, you know what, you guys want to run slow on the bottom, I'm going to go the outside and pass you all. And that strategy tends to work if you can get by enough cars and find that hole. If you can't find that hole, then you kind of get stuck wherever you end up falling into line. So if these guys start checking up on the bottom early and trying to save tires, why not go up there, gain a few spots, and then take care of your stuff?
And a race like this, where the stage distances are so relatively short, you really probably can take a little bit more chances running that higher lane, using a little bit more of those Goodyears to your advantage, knowing that you're not going to have to stretch them. What's a fuel load here at Dover? 85, 90 laps, something like that. You're only going to have to stretch it. Even in stage 3, if you split it, farthest you're going to have to go here is 50 laps. So you can really take a little bit more chances, be a little bit more aggressive with the driving style, and try to take advantage of those passes.
Yeah, the tough thing about this tire is you can gain a lot of time. 2 seconds, maybe 2-3 seconds on somebody on the short run if you go really, really hard pace, trying to get all you can get. But once you get to that lap 20-25 mark, you will fall off a cliff compared to a lot of these other guys that save their stuff. So you could gain 2 seconds early on in the run. Big whoop. It doesn't matter, because you're going to lose those 2 seconds in 6 or 7 laps later on in the run. So unless you get the cautions where you want them, going hard here, using up your stuff, really is not going to benefit you.
And of course, the iRacing has made known that, if you're active on the forums and such, the dirt racing side getting a refresh of sorts to improve their racing, as again, Wayne Grassy is just getting bumping around from all different sorts here. The dirt racing side of iRacing getting a big overhaul in the June build to make their racing more realistic, as it has stagnated in recent years. And then soon after, we will be getting an oval refresh to give a more realistic dynamic track, to make the oval tire a little bit more true to life, as its current wear habit's not ideal, not in the fence again off of 2. So whether it comes in June, whether it comes in September, we will be having an overhaul with the physics here, and these drivers will have to acclimate to that and relearn these tracks all over again. But someone who has to learn this track over again is that number 84, because he's been in the wall many laps here.
Yeah, I think the good is good off his tires right now. I think that couple slides that he's done, you know, these tires, they're a little bit more reliable than the one we had a couple months ago. But if you wear them up pretty quick, you know, you slide 2-3 times, it's going to take a little bit of time to try to get them cooled down and back in working condition. And as we can see here, he is struggling to get him back in that position, out of the top 10 now after running top 5 or 6 there for that whole first stage.
He doesn't have good years on that. He just has years on that car, because as you said, the good is gone for Jamie there. But you can see Kyle Aben just ahead of that. And well, Kyle Aben was working with Wayne Grassi, but I'll tell you, Wayne Grassi, he is going the opposite direction that Ammon is, and that is up right now. He's in 8th and closing in on Matt DeCunha, and that is for 7th. So that Pennzoil ride having some serious speed here, trying to make some headway here at Dover. And then just ahead of that is Adam Benefield, who's kind of stagnated in that 6th position, but is focusing back to the front of the field. Again, Gitter got that clean air, and he has taken it to fruition. I mean, I think this is probably the biggest example of clean air dominance that I think I've seen on iRacing in quite some time. Based on what I've seen, I haven't taken any laps out thus far.
Yeah, like we said earlier, how this track is so bumpy and so aero dependent in the corners to get that rake, to get that downforce. If you have someone in front of you, that dirty air is terrible. You know, the car just wants to get tight. It's tough to turn. It's tough to pass. And we're seeing that here. You know, I think if Stein could get ahead of Getter, I think he'd be able to put a decent pace on as Getter is right now. But I think on the long run, I think you have Getter as the better car, at least from what we saw that first big run we had, with Getter being a tenth and a half faster per lap on the long run. As we see right there, time-wise, these guys aren't far apart. You know, quarter of a tenth right there, that lap. It's just, now Getter has a whole second lead. You know, we didn't see this from him in the first run of the race, where they stayed within about a half second for a solid, 25-30 laps of the run. At this point, Getter has kind of gotten a nice gap, and I think he's just going to try to ride out the rest of the stage up there.
Up in that stage, of course, coming at lap number 90, which is right around the corner here, just in a matter of 22 more circuits around the Dover Dover Motor Speedway. I keep forgetting that this track was purchased by SMI a few years back, so it is now Dover Motor Speedway with the little blue and red car logo that iRacing still has yet to update into the graphics, which is not a surprise if you know how iRacing is with the graphics there. But some racing going on. It looks like Jamie Knopf still losing some spots, now falling into the clutches of Lucas Abreu there, or Abreu. I mean, there's different ways to enunciate that name, but everybody pretty well spaced out. I'm going through the entirety of the field here, Jeffrey, and everyone's kind of stuck within that little aero bubble, 2-3 tenths of a second. Now, let me ask you this. I know you're a lot more involved in the service than I am at the moment from a driving perspective. How is the next gen compared to, perhaps a truck or Xfinity car? Is this the worst of the aero dependency, or are they kind of all in the same vein here at Dover?
At a place like Dover like this, you can definitely tell the difference between a next gen car and a truck, an Xfinity car, even an ARCA car. The ARCA car, you could get up on people and give them the bumper. It's tough with the ARCA car, as many of you guys that, if you run that car, you'll know that you really can't give somebody the bumper. You kind of just spin them. But it's a lot easier to get to someone's bumper with the ARCA car and make that move. And those tires, how they wear a lot more. So you're going to be able to see a bigger fall off and be able to make those passes more quicker than you do with this car. But someone that's trying to prove me wrong, it looks like, is Jason Taylor, who, we'll say it, he had issues early on in this race. I think he might have spun, which is why we saw him so far in the back, but he's worked his way all the way back up in the top 10 now. So him and Benefield kind of just slowly working their way up through the field, up 23 spots right now for Taylor.
Yeah, Jedi is on a mission of sorts here, and Wayne Grassi was talking about him going up to about P7, while I think he is also on Tire Street here, no longer wearing the good years. He was just having the years there. Kyle Ammon taking a look to the inside and talked about Adam Benefield being stalled in the 6th position, while he has now stalled himself in the 5th position. So just making subtle progress here towards the end of the stage here, and get our gap up front hovering at a second to 1.1. It's like slowly, maybe a 200ths a lap is just slowly starting to grow for Gitter. Still not really putting guys a lap down. Nick Pressey, who got the free pass on a previous yellow, I keep saying subsequent, that's not the right verbiage. Pressey should stay on the lead lap, as Pat Mouchet coming into the pits. He was on the lead lap, but coming into the pits under green, and not sure what the reasoning is there, but that will put him down multiple laps.
Yeah, that might just be an idea of, he thinks he knows what he has for tonight and doesn't like it, so he's going to take the rest of the race off and go work on tomorrow night. Gitter coming up to 3 laps to go right there. He has easily gotten away from Stein this time, unlike that first run we had. But the car I think that can contend with Gitter right now is his Team Conti teammate there, Adam Benefield. I think Benefield is fast enough. He's got the speed. He's still one of, if not the fastest car on track right now. If he can get the track position up there into the top 3 or so on this next caution, when we do have the caution and then the pit stops, I think he can be a contender for this win.
Yeah, you can never count out him at all here now that he's in the top 5 and coming into a reset. He's going to start the next stage from the top 5 and likely from the inside lane here, but we're coming down to 2 to go here in the stage. Pressey did go a lap down, but Nilji's about a half straightaway up, so I think he will get the free pass, does the 94, and Nilji should stay on the lead lap in a native fashion here. But coming off of quarter number 4, and that will be the white flag for stage number 2 here at the Dover Speedway, and the pseudo called Miles Hates Us 200. Well, surprisingly, Miles doesn't really hate us too badly here today, because he's being a little bit clean on these guys. He's biting them a little bit, but not enough to rear any ugly heads at a recurring basis here. But Pat Gitter is not getting bit at all. He's going to go for stage 1 with success. He's going to come off quarter number 4, and he's going to take stage 2 as well.
Yep, and Stein right there in second, as he was the first time. Dyson in 4th, Carl in 4th, Benefield in 5th, Matt in 6th, and Taylor, Simmons, and Ammon rounding out the top 10. Ammon had a couple incidents there at the early part of that stage, kind of just trying to get in line, but he does end up rounding out our top 10, which we get the stage caution.
Yes, we will, and that will be the second set of good years for these drivers to administer on their vehicles here at Dover. We'll just have to coagulate behind the pace car, who has found himself in turn number 3, and that will immediately open the pits here, so they will have to get quickly into position here. And all these guys who were, back 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds, they're going to be very well detrimented here getting into the pits here, because they're still catching up. And then here come our leaders just about to enter pit lane.
Yeah, and this goes back to that whole idea of how slow you are going on this pit lane. And if you are one of those cars that is almost at the tail end of the lead lap, you have to try to catch up and then get down pit road and pray to God that you're not going a lap down sitting on pit road. So you might see a couple guys here catch the pace car, then come down. The second time around, I think we're seeing that right there. And that's probably the safest bet here. If you're back there in the mid-20s and you have nothing to lose, you might as well catch that pace car, gain your spots, and then safely come down afterwards.
Now that is a good bet there, and everybody getting their second set. We saw Stein do a really good job racing Gitter to the stripe, and won't be able to do that. That number 1 pit stall will be a little bit too powerful at this juncture in the race. But I think for the first time in quite some time, we actually have our stage winner available for interview here. So we'll go ahead and grab him up. Pat, you got a copy?
Yep, gotcha.
All right, well, 2-stage wins, and you made it look easy, but I know Nick was holding you honest there for a while, but once you got about 10, 15 laps in, that thing is on rails. What do you got for him in the 3rd stage? You going to go for the clean sweep?
That's the plan, man. It may have looked easy up there, but it sure wasn't in the car. Nick was running a heck of a race, man. It was all I could do to keep him behind me. We had some side-by-side laps there a few times, so I just shout out to him just for racing clean, racing aggressive. I mean, that was great there for a little while. So yeah, just trying to not burn my tires up as best I can. Stay out front. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I know how much clean air is important here. If he was to get by you, do you think you had enough in the tank to get through the dirty air and get him back? Is that why you had to fight so hard to keep that track position up front?
Yeah, it kind of depends. I mean, I think so. It depends on where you're at in the run. If you get a green flag cycle, who pitted for tires most recently. And then kind of keeping an eye on 3rd, 4th, and 5th, how close they are, what pace they're running. So I think there's a few things to go into it. So it's kind of rolling the dice, man. Just have to see how each situation plays out.
All right, well, you got 100 and some odd laps to fight it out. We'll see if you can go for the clean sweep. Maybe we'll talk to you on the podium again.
Yes, sir. All right. Appreciate it, fellas.
We'll let him go back up there. And that is our stage winner. We did have a question in chat. How many cautions here? Dan Fields, of course, what Andre says every single week. What did Andre say on Monday? He said there's 2 truths in life: that he will never show the Walmart cashier his receipt, and that Dan Fields is a chronic liar. So, but I'll be nice to you, Dan.
Boy.
I will give you the amount of cautions here. So we have had 4 cautions, including the one we are on. So that would have meant just 2 cautions here on the evening for cause. So overall, a very clean race here at Dover as we do close in on halfway.
Luckily, those have been 2 somewhat single car incidents.
Yeah.
Obviously both had a little bit of help from those, but
Yeah, Mouchet
they haven't involved
was the first
many
one.
cars.
Mouchet just had that little baby contact, and then what was it? It was I must have DL Hughley, DL Lemon, and I can't remember who it was that he had that spin around with, but that's really
I think it was
about
Charles Eaton in the 80 car.
Yes, that was it. Not DL Hughley, who is a comedian that was big back in the early 2000s that probably nobody has heard of except myself. But let's get going here for stage 3 here at Dover Speedway PTR TV. Let's see what happens with Gitter and Stein on the front row. I have a guess that Stein's not going to get a good restart, but let's see what happens. Call it for me, Jeffrey.
As the pace car slowly pulls off the racetrack. No restart zones in tab tonight, but as we see, Getter flies off the get-go again. He is way clear of Stein. Stein easily falls in line behind him. And we're going to fall off to turn number 1 with the top 3 single file and ready to race.
You said off the get-go.
Oh boy.
I've been working on my Peter Griffin lap there. I think it's actually pretty decent at this point. But Matt DeCiotti closing in on a side-by-side, well, nearly a side-by-side battle. That was Carroll and James there, close proximity. Benefiel lost 3 spots on that sequence. Remember, he was in 5th not too long ago, back to the 8th spot. But as you said, Gitter and Stein. Gitter got that good start. And we'll go back because I called the side-by-side battle about a lap early. James and Carroll. Carroll going all the way to the bottom, and James trying to find stuff there in that almost 3rd groove there at the top of the rubber. And I'll tell you, actually kind of worked.
Yeah, and these guys are trying to find out, like you said, rubber. That's the main thing we talked about early on in the race. This track is going to have to rubber in easily, and I think a lot of these guys have learned that. And the longer this race goes, the more you have a feel with that front end. I've run a couple of races here where you practice all week long, car feels great, you're happy with it, you get in the server and it's a clean track state, and you go on the track and you go, what happened to my car? What setup is this? Am I the wrong, do I have the wrong setup in it? And it's not. It's just, it's a tough track to race on with it being rubbered in to not rubbered in. So as this track gets rubbered in, I think you might see some come goers here. Some of these guys that built setups that are more used to a 100%, 80% track usage state. might start coming through the field. As you see, Benefield lost a couple spots on the pit stops there. He's trying to gain them back, though, on track.
That is the case here, but I do want to go back up front because Gitter not pulling away. And, you know, we've seen this. We've seen Stein stay with him for 15, 20 laps, and he's doing his best. And I really do, not just for the sake of I don't like Gitter, so which is not the case at all, just for the sake of competition, I do want to see what happens if Stein is able to get the lead. Is he able to pull away, or is it really just a clean air battle? So really interested to see what happens here. And I think so is the 82, but he's working right through that dirty air, trying to get whatever downforce he can get on the front of that Camry, and he's keeping himself within that car length gap longer than he has in prior restarts.
Yeah, and those restarts are really what's key here, because you see as great a run on the restarts that Getter has been getting. It's tough to be that guy in second place. You know, when you're on that outside lane, you have less grip. You're kind of still in the banking compared to the leader that's almost out of it down there on the bottom of the track. So you gain, you know, as the leader, you gain half a second already before you get green. So you're kind of in that position to hold on to it. And Stein is trying to stay right there and hold them on. It's like you said, and try to just take that lead away.
And then, of course, you have Dyson back there in the 0-5 machine. He's just hanging on just to the edge of these guys. Hasn't been able to fight too hard. But, again, Chris James showing some stuff here that we haven't seen from him. Let's check the lap times here. Again, this is only 10 laps into the stint. But last time by, James, the fastest car on the track, nearly by a 10th. Actually, let's go back to Carroll running a 23 flat, a flyer. Off of that number 26 car. I think he was far enough back that that was a complete clean air lap too. Now he's coming into the dirty air of Andrew Dyson, which will detriment that a little bit. That time by, look at James in the O's there, and he was right in the dirtiest air possible. So definitely some time to be had, but again, how much of that speed is going to last in 20, 30, 40 laps? Because we will have a pit stop if no caution comes out. So you're going to have that question. Do you run this dry? Do you split it halfway? And your answer to that question determines how hard you can drive right now.
Yeah, and it's a really tough thing to answer because we know how this tire wear works. We know that you don't have a huge cliff type of fall off until maybe 20, 25 laps into this run where you start seeing people give up a huge amount of time. So when do you want to pit? You know, I think the safe bet would be to just cut it in half. Like we said earlier, you cut this stage in half, you pit around maybe 150 or so, and you go to the end for that 50 laps, and you have that extra set. You need it. Hopefully we don't have a late yellow, but if you have that late yellow, you still have that extra set in the boot box. But it's a tough call here how hard you go now. You know, some of these guys might be thinking maybe I do an early pit. You know, you go real hard right now, you gain some spots, you gain time on people, and then pit maybe 10, 15 laps early, and you make up that time that you're going to lose later on in the run. We'll just have to wait and see what everybody's strategy here is with 90 laps to go.
Yeah, because in Dover, not a track like a Pocono or a Michigan or an Indy Oval, rip the Oval, where you could pit under green and not lose a lap, or even a Charlotte where, all right, you'll only lose one lap, but you know you can get that back on a wave around. You pit here at Dover, it takes 47 seconds to do a pit sequence here at Dover. That's going to lose you over 2 laps. So if you pit, assuming we're going to go green, and that yellow flag comes out, basically race over for you. So as you said, a very, very difficult call, but one that you're going to have to start considering in the next 35 laps. I think we're going to probably see pit road open up at 150, barring that this thing does stay green. And I'm going. What we have focused on screen right now is the kind of the biggest coagulation of cars here on the racetrack here. And if a wreck's going to happen, it's going to come out of this pack right here. 64 Darren Mullins in the red and black car going all the way to the top there. 43 of Thomas Wolf in the Hooters mobile. Jamie Knott from he is just that wall contact dropped through the pack here like a rock. Dalton Mobley dropping back as well. And then Corey Harville, our top 20. So if anything happens, it's going to be right here on screen.
Yeah, and they're not they're giving each other room, but at the same time, they're racing each other really, really hard. I think, Jamie thinks or knows, I think he has a lot more speed in that car than where he is right now after those early incidents. Probably had to get a little bit of damage fixed under caution. Dalton Mobley was up there in the top 10 for most of the first stage. He wants to get back up there. And these guys are they're racing hard. They know that we're closing in towards the end of this race, and they need to get as much as they can before we have to come down pit road for the final time.
Some intel from our YouTube chat. Dan feels as he does know the setup that is under the hood of that number 28 Camaro. All right, let's do a sponsor plug here. That number 28 Heartbeat of America EPI, Martin PC, RaceEPI.com, Sunoco, C12. Am I missing anything on that? He knows what's under the hood of that car, and he says he'll be good till well after lap 30. Not too sure what is under the hood of that number 82. Ryko Performance, SWMBRTV. Is it even a Camaro? No, Camry. See, don't say I don't do sponsor plugs. If they're visible enough and you're running in a good position, I'll do them.
Yeah, and like we said, these guys, some of these guys are on their own teams that they have. Some of these guys do work with setup shops, but they do also work on the cars. That's the main thing. Some of these guys that we've seen week for week that, they have a setup they get from someone and they just race the setup. A lot of these guys, they'll get a setup, and throughout the week they'll work with teammates to get the thing better, get it faster, and by the end of the week they have a very competitive piece to begin with, but by the end of the week they even have a more competitive piece. And I know that car that Stein is driving, we've seen, back at Martinsville he was really fast. Last week he was really fast, and Alex Murray, his teammate, finished right up front in a high strength of field race earlier this week with that car. So they're fast. It's just how much do you want to give or not give, I guess, early on to try to get that track position and clean air is the main key.
Yeah, you have some guys who are kind of like the Kyle Larson of sorts. If you ask Kyle Larson what he wants done to the car, he's going to have no idea. He's admitted that before. He says what the car needs, what he wants it to do, and then you turn the dials, change the springs, pull the fenders. You just do what I want you to do. And then you have like the Ryan Newmans of the world, who actually had an engineering degree and could build a car by himself, as a lot of the guys in the 80s could build a car. If you said it was loose off a 4, you're not just going to say loose off 4, you're going to say change this, change that. And as you said, some of these guys working on that, some of these guys are just saying, is the file updated, and just loading it in. And those guys might be good in the short term, as that's Bundy into the fence there, just out of the end of the shot there.
Yeah, and these guys, like you said, they're bouncing off that wall. They're testing it. We still have a lot of stability in this car. It's not, tank mode anymore, but it can still take a couple hits to the wall. But from experience, I know that you take one too many, it's going to break that right front. Even if you don't get a meatball and have to come down pit road for it, your steering will be way off. So these guys just got to be smart and know that you don't have a lot of time left. You do have that quick repair if we get a late yellow when you need to get damage fixed, but that's going to hurt your speed if we do stay green. And we're going to probably have about 25 laps left here. I'd say within the next 10 laps, you're probably going to know if anybody tries to do any short pits, though.
Oh, so I did, by the way, add a new sophisticated graphic in for the sake of our informing knowledge here. Because we've had some questions week over week of who used their fast repair. Who used their fast repair? Well, pull me up the graphics here for Stein. Nick used, you can see repairs used. He's used one. So that number 82, remember he had a wall impact earlier. He did have to pull the backup car out in instantaneous fashion. So if anything happens to that 82, he's up a creek. But really, just looking at the back end here to scroll through very quickly, the only other person I can find that has used their fast repairs all the way back there, Harville and Marty back there in the 20s. So really, as we've seen, a very clean race. And some guys might have hit the wall and they might still have it in their back pocket. So we might see more of them use on that last pit stop. But again, a much different ball game than what we've seen other points here in the other points at other races.
And I think as we are clean and green right now, everybody's spaced out pretty well. I think we're going to take a moment to talk about one of our sponsors tonight, and for Division 200% in general, Sousa Media jumped on board a couple weeks ago. They are a very, very good company. A lot of good people over there that answer calls, messages as quick as they possibly can. Sousa Media, they're for anything you need to help with any type of social media, websites, Twitter handles, Facebook pages. They can help you do anything. A lot of big name clients on the client list for Sousa Media, up to I think 35 different people right now and different companies. They can help you with sales. If you want to sell anything on your websites, they can set up website shops. And like I said, if you need anything to try to boost your engagement on social media, Facebook or Twitter, or like we said, websites in general, call up Sousa Media, go on their Facebook page, get the phone number, go on the website down in the description. Reach out to them. You know, they never will say no straight out. You know, they're going to give you an offer, and if you think the offer is good enough, I know a lot of guys that currently are clients with Sousa Media, and they say they swear by them, and they've given multiple people so far different calls saying, hey, you know, get this company to work for you. You know, these guys do a great job. So from Wheel and Modified series to the Xfinity series, Sousa Media will do it all. So reach out to them with the website and the Facebook page down below, and go make your website and Sousa Media a mixture.
So you know what we're going to have them do for you, Jeffrey? We're going to have one of them use all their marketing abilities to actually write you a pre-scripted ad read just for this segment. You do a great job getting through it, but that would be something. That would be a very perfect thing to say. They wrote this ad lib right for me.
Yeah, one of these weeks I will probably do that.
Yeah, make your own life easy. But we do have another league partner as well, as we're kind of right at that point where I want to get some stuff done before the final stretch of pit stops here. So we do have another ad here for Stint Analyzer, who is also another partner here with the 100% D2 broadcast and helping these races come to light here. So let's go take a minute and see what they're all about.
Whether you are new to iRacing or a veteran, we all have the same goal: to go fast. Stint Analyzer is a tool that helps you collect data from iRacing sessions to compare lap times with others. Hot laps are one thing, but comparing yourself with others over a stint is what really matters. You can compare a stint one-on-one, graph lap times from multiple drivers, export data to Excel, compare setups and tire wear. It also has a spotter mode and allows you to quickly review your incidents in a session. Also included is some simple overlays to help you plan out your pit strategy and compare one stint to another. And last, but not least, but it also has built-in Discord integration to allow you to share data and race updates. Download Stint Analyzer at stintanalyzer.com.
And we're back here after a unintended side-by-side as I hit the wrong graphic, but we got 2 ads in there, so all the partners will be happy, but you really didn't miss too much. Gitter is using that EPI engine and pulling himself a 2.7 second lead. I think may be his highest on the evening. Stein there in second, but Stein may not be second for much longer because Captain Piss Excellence himself, Adam Benefield, is going to be going for that second position here in a matter of a few laps here. Bring up the battle tracker, and you can see on the lap board he was over a 10th faster last time by, and you can see that gap lower there right in the middle on the battle tracker. Well, actually that time by he didn't get off in 4 at all. Lost about a 10th. You can see him gain on entry. Gets it down to 4.6, and he got a good run off of 2, and he'll eat into that and get himself down into the 3s. Oh, Clifton Cockrell entering the pits there in front of Stein kind of caused Stein to have to back off a little bit, and that'll make some serious inlay into that gap, as well as Stein getting loose off 4.
Yeah, and we're seeing that point where I think a lot of these guys wanted to get to on tires, so you're seeing that fall off. You're seeing who has better car, who has done a better job taking care of their stuff. You know, we're on almost 50 laps on these tires now. Adam Benefield has been one of the best cars on the long run with his teammate Getter, obviously up there in the lead, but on these longer runs we've seen Benefield be the fastest car. So as he's lost a lot of time now to Getter for the lead per se, there's no reason why he can't get by Stein, and this is where we're going to see if that clean air matters a lot, or if Benefield can make a decent amount of work with him here as they get by another car.
That's the 72 of Dan Lawal in 28th spot. Now we're starting to tick off these lap cars here towards the end of the pit cycle here. 52 or so laps into the sequence here, and that's Gitter right to the inside. Is of Corey Mott off of 4. Don't want to get loose with the leader right to your inside there. Not the best time to have that happen, but they'll get by with ease, and now I'll put now 24 cars on the lead lap. Josh Slade next on the chopping block, but he'll have about 3 or so seconds to do that. Now again, it goes back to what we were talking about, 20-30 laps into the stage. Here's that $1 million question. Is this going to go green until, you know, let's say another 30-35 laps till the end of the fuel load? Do we run this to about lap 180 and lose all that time on the tires, and then maybe hope for a caution that screws people over, or do we take the safe route and pit here, closing in on lap 150?
You know, I think you're seeing a lot of guys deciding to come down pit road right now. I think Chris James, we saw him really strong at the start of the stage, obviously struggling with the handling of that car, maybe a little bit too tight right now for him. He's dropping back. If you're him, I say you probably try to come down, be one of these first cars down, get used to those fresh tires as quick as you can, try to make up some spots maybe, but it's really tough. You know, these guys up front right now, Benefield still trying to make that bottom lane work, as there was a little bit of contact.
Whoa!
Off turn 4, Benefield able to save it, but a lot of time lost for him.
A replay on screen here. He got to the inside. He drifted up through the center of the corner there. And, looks like we'll have to get a different perspective. I think maybe the Barney cam.
Oh, we got trouble. We got trouble on the pit road.
Trouble on the pit road, he says.
I think it was Nick Stein. I don't know if he got off the banking.
Yeah, he's out of the session right now. So while we were on replay, of course, that's just how nature works out, is once we're on replay, stuff happens. So let me try to sift through the events that occurred. Oh yeah, we had some stuff going on.
I think you're gonna have a couple upset people after that one.
Pressy, oh, Okay, so Pressy got into the wall off of 2. Stein wiggle wobbled himself into safety there. Now he's going into the pits. Dover, the toughest pit lane in racing. Benefield.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That impact between Jason
and that was an engine expire there on
Stein.
Stein, and then he takes, and then Neil Pearson gets into it as well. So, what? For Christ's sake, what camera do I do for this? I don't know if this one's gonna.
Yeah, I can tell you that 62 car is heavily damaged and
Oh,
very
that was
heated.
Jedi there that got kerfuffled royally.
yeah, I'd like to see the in car of that one on Taylor, because
Yeah, that's
you might see that hood fly up, that visor fly up like we saw with Ryan Priest this past week, because that was a hard hit head to head.
Yeah, we are working on that. Oh, this is Stein right here. First of all, you can see him getting loose. Oh my gosh.
Up in the air for Taylor.
Yeah, I think the 41 may be cursed in that capacity. Where did he go here? There he is. All right. Brace, everybody. Brace. Oh!
But by the miracle of iRacing, Jason Taylor has a brand new car. He's lapped down now, but he's back out here, which is better than some of these guys can say right now. Just tough deal for Stein. You know, not only that incident on the backstretch, that then
It basically just got him out of rhythm, more or less, because Pressy got in the wall and he squiggle squabbled himself into safety, but he was probably just out of rhythm. And then we haven't touched on it because, let's just be honest, green flag pit stops haven't really happened that much in D2. But if you're going to make a green flag stop, I am willing to bet any number of coins here that this is the toughest green flag pit stop in the NASCAR circuit.
yeah, because you know, we talked about pit speed earlier and how slow it really is, and I think that's the biggest part of this track. You know, trying to get on pit road, you want to get as much as you can, as you do every time you want to pit, but you feel like you can carry so much more speed getting off that banking. And like we said, the banking is so high here that you're going from, you know, what do we have, 20 degrees of banking at least in the corners, to 24 to basically nothing on that asphalt section of the track. So you know, you want to carry as much speed as you do. And for those that watched Richmond, I think you saw in this similar thing with me. You know, you want to get as much as you can getting down on pit road, but all those marbles built up on that asphalt entry to pit road apron, as soon as you get off that transition there, if you try to cut down a little too fast, it can upset the car quickly. And I think what we saw right there from Stein is, I think, you know, you see him cutting down the backstretch, 94 gets in the wall, he gets into him a little bit, and I think at that time he probably says, I just lost a bunch of time, I'm just going to pit and try to cut my losses, and might have been a little too late to make that call. But this sets up a interesting run now, as we did have some guys that had pitted already, but for the most part our top 10 or so stayed out, and we'll now have 4 fresh tires for the last 45 or so.
I just realized I was muted because I was coughing. So, green flag back in the air. Get her on the loud pedal. We'll see what kind of run Benefield can get. He's going to get enough of a run unless Dyson can send it off into 3 and 4 here. Another 1 and 2. He will not be able to do so. So, Adam Benefield, P2, fresh tires. Let's see if he can do what Stein didn't do and get by Gitter.
Yeah, and like we said, this was going to be the battle. I think we could see actually keeping up with Getter, where he's been able to kind of just drive away from everybody this whole race. Benefield finally got that track position in second now. A pretty long run left in this race. I think if this pans out, we could see a great battle for the win here between two EPI powered cars.
Yep, so very likely have the same setup, if not very slightly different, just due to style changes there. But we know Benefield can win these races. He's won, I don't know exactly how many, but he's probably won at least 2 of these D2s that we've covered here. We've covered 9, including this one, covered 9 of the 10 that have been run, so he's definitely doing pretty well. But Andrew Dyson not dropping back. You can see some guys having some trouble with the exit of turn 4 there on the back of the long shot here, going all the way back through the field. Damaris in the top 20. I haven't talked about him yet because he hasn't done anything worth talking about, but having a decent run of sorts here. And Wayne Grassi try to stay in that top 10. He's to the inside of Chris James. James has had some speed, but does not have the track position. Try to fight on that outside lane here as it's rubbered in. May have some speed here using those tires here towards the end of the run.
Yeah, but Jamie Knopp obviously, was fast early on in the run. Finally back up there in the top 10 with this pit stop caution. But obviously still not happy with what he's got there, as he's trying to go by Lucas there on the outside. Not really where we've seen a lot of passes being made, but he's kind of making it work there.
Yeah, just, the outside lane has that rubber in it, and just, not afraid to use it. Everyone's going to have one more set of tires on the wall. So, depending how this race ends, I mean, this race I think has vibes to go a fair amount clean. Of course, I said that, so now it won't, but the caution comes out now. Do you pit? Use that strategy set? Do you save it? It's a very difficult situation. I think everybody's going to hope this goes green, but I did see some smoke and some wall contact there at the end of the shot. I think that was in the vein of this gaggle of cars, which is about 12th through just about the 20th position. Neil Pearson to the outside in the 62, Darren Mullins to the inside, Wayne Grassi, and he has super short run speed, but he drops back here. He's still going to try to get by Pearson there for 12th and not missing anything up front. Gitter starting to pull away by roughly 4/10 over Benefield as Dyson makes a pancake into the turn 4 wall.
And like we said, these guys pushing hard. Dyson been up front the whole race, up there in that top 3 or 4 pretty much the whole time. Not really enough short run pace to keep up with these guys, and not really enough long run pace to keep with them and have a contention. But like you said, all it takes is being there. If we get a late yellow here, maybe you pit. Some guys decide to stay out. You never know. You could spin the tires on a late pit stop, late restart. Getter has been getting great restarts so far, but if we get a restart and 5 to go, you never know. Could miss a shift. Anything can happen. So if you put yourself in that position, something could fall in your lap late in this race.
Yeah, I think Dyson needs to just try and do something a little bit different. I thought he was trying to do maybe the diamond line and try to get some clean air, but he's literally running right in the tire tracks. Maybe giving himself a little bit of buffer on corner entry. You can see, but now he washed up too high. And we'll see what he does here in 1 and 2. Running a little bit high. Now Benefield runs high right here, but he doesn't have enough to cut back to the inside and really maximize that clean air on the end of the diamond there. And that's what caused him to drop back. And kind of a nature of Dover, not a lot of options to play, but you just gotta have to be creative here. And if you just look at here, both of these guys starting to come back to get her.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's Patrick trying to just take care of his stuff, maybe just maintain a gap, or if we're already seeing Benefield kind of eat into that speed difference. But I think it's time to talk about something like you're saying there. Do something different. If we do get a late yellow, do you pull what I've named and a couple of my guys have named a Souza? Do you decide, hey, I'm going to take 2 tires and get the lead? I don't know how it's going to go here. I know in the past I've tried it and I've gotten flipped over on a restart, so it might not work. But with how good a gap that we've seen Getter get on some of these restarts here, if we get a restart, you know, a caution within the next 5-6 laps and everybody comes down pit road, why not? You know, take that chance, take 2 right sides and get the track position. And at this point, track's just not going to matter because Adam
looks to the
Benefield.
inside. First time all race we've seen first time since stage 1 we've seen a battle for the lead at this degree. Gitter's going to really have to pinch down and fight that outside lane, but I'm telling you, Benefield seems like he's going to have it. He's going to make the first green flag pass for the lead all race.
Yeah, like we were saying early in this race, as he came all the way from the back on the initial start, we thought he had one of, if not the best cars here tonight. So I think, you know, him taking the lead right there after we saw Stein try to take that lead, and he never was able to get it done. Right there, Benefield, probably a little bit of a, you know, teammate howdy doody there. You know, Patrick being smart.
168 out of 170. The only laps he hasn't led have been the last 3. He could have, if he was in position for the clean sweep of the race, if he was able to stay up front for the rest of the race, but not quite the case. How many times has that happened? I know it happened with Jeff Burton in 2000 at Loudon, but in a sim race to lead every single lap on an oval, I mean, that just doesn't happen very often, in, you know, outside of like rookie legends.
Yeah, and if you're Getter right now, you know, someone like Benefield is probably saying, I don't want a caution, because he knows he has a lot of speed on the long runs. But if you're Getter, you might be wanting that caution, because we know how much that first pit stall matters.
He's driving red right now too. You could tell he's driving red.
We saw, you know, Adam struggle on pit road, lose some spots on different pit stops tonight. So if you're Getter, you're saying, I want that late caution, I want that second chance. As we said, these guys are kind of single file, working each other out, and we're only going to have 27 laps to go. So this could be one of those Benefield kind of nights again.
Now my question is, was Gitter giving it his all, and is Benefield that much faster? Or was Gitter just trying to run as fast as he could to stay in the lead and save the tires, and Benefield just kind of pushed the pace and kind of caught him sleeping a little bit?
I don't know. Getter not really falling back from Benefield right now, but like we said earlier, it really doesn't matter if you run the same times as the guy in front of you, because you can't pass him. So, you know, this might be a chance for Getter to get behind Benefield and watch what he's doing on the track, where he's lifting, what line he's running, and maybe learn something for tomorrow. We know a lot of these guys in this league on Friday nights really don't care about the points. It's more so learn stuff for tomorrow, and this might be what Getter's doing. You know, line up behind him, take care of your stuff, watch what he's doing, and learn what you can do better tomorrow night.
We have a battle going on here. Grassy and James. That is for the 10th position, and a little bit of Doring action going on there down the front straightaway. That's and they're still going at it. So if a caution comes out, it's right here on screen. Corey Harville has gained a whale of spots here. He has moved up from the 26th position up to 12th and going for 11th. Contact! Oh, Doran off a 4 here. Again, these guys are trying to throw this race off.
Yeah, and I would say that those guys right there are some of the toughest heads in the field, I would say. You know, Chris James, really a hard racer. Most of, you know, a lot of the time he uses his head. He's smart. He knows when to give people room and let them go, and then get them later on in the run. But when somebody starts rubbing your door like that, you got to start thinking in your head, how much more am I going to give here? You know, you can only give so much, and if everybody's going to decide, I want to take a cookie out of the cookie jar, at some point there's going to be none left for them to take. So he's dropping obviously now, but might be thinking in his head, maybe I should have just tried to stay ahead of those guys. And
So what do you do when there's no cookies in the cookie jar? Do you punch everybody that took one, or do you just pout and complain about it?
well, I would say right now, if somebody still has a cookie and they're around you,
You take it.
you might give them a punch and try to take that cookie away from them. But right now, it looks like Grassy and Harville kind of gapping them right now, at least with 20 to go. You know, I don't think we're going to see any retaliation, but I don't think he's going to race them with a lot of room late in this race if they do get back around each other.
And watching the gaps up front, not seeing any massive change. There's a big wiggle going on with Harville. Into the fence is Marty trying to squeeze a lane there that didn't quite exist, but it existed enough in the present, as Marty will fall behind Harville there in the Monster Energy Camaro, just behind the Pennzoil Camaro of Grassy, the number 3 car. So some tight racing there, but gap up front still 0.2 of a second. And we're kind of watching, like, we're kind of on caution cam right now. This is, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen on camera where we're watching it right now, because this is the closest group of vehicles there. You can see Jason Taylor, who clearly used the reset after he died there, into Nick Stein. He is gaining some spots up to P20 and gaining ever so slightly. But the telemetry is showing that we may have a battle shaping up. Looks like Dyson has dropped off, but Gitter, you can see he's doing something a little bit different, which is not what I think Dyson was doing earlier. Looking here into 1. All right, he follows his tire tracks perfectly to prove my point as a mull, but looks like Benefield may have got a little bit of too much yaw there off 2. But look at him run really high there, get some clean air on the nose. It sets through the center, but now he's in the dirty air and he can't cut off of 4, and that's why he can't seem to break that bubble.
Yeah, and you know, I was testing, as much as it matters for Dover, I was testing at Kansas today, and that's something that you have to do there too, where you kind of, if you lift a little bit earlier and you cut that car to the bottom quicker going in the corner, you gain a bunch of time on the entry into the center, but you can give up a little bit on exit. But it looks like right now what Getter's doing is he's kind of doing that. He's kind of lifting a little bit earlier than Benefield and taking a little bit more of an arc down in the corner, getting to the center a little bit earlier, and just keeping as much clean air on that nose as possible to try to get back to Benefield's bumper.
Can I make a bad joke that's also kind of a reality as well?
Oh boy.
You keep giving Benefield a D. It's Benefield. Stop giving him the D, because there's no D there.
Well, you know,
You just like giving Benefield a D.
well, we are past 11 Eastern tonight.
And I know he's listening to this, which is why I'm extrapolating that conversation a little bit longer, just for his own amusement here. But here
Yeah,
comes...
please don't distract him. You know, if
I don't
he
want to be
doesn't win this race, it's going to be your fault.
Oh gosh,
Boy.
Mobley, Mullins, Drumhiller, who's in the 09 there? That's Gibson.
Gibson. These guys are racing for everything back there, right around, 15th position, I think? 16th position. And they are trying to get every point they can here late in this race.
Yes, they can. And I will say, Dyson, he was dropping back, but he's starting to kind of come back into fruition here. Maybe a little bit too late, but look at what's ahead of look what's ahead of Benefield right now. That's some lap traffic. I mean, I assume they're going to get out of the way, but it's hard to get out of the way here at Dover without it still having it affect you in some way or another.
Yeah, we saw exactly how it can affect you. That last caution, obviously. Stein was right behind the lap traffic, got a little bit of contact, one that got loose, and that put us in this position where he was contending with Getter for that whole first 150 laps, and now he's sitting in the pit stall with a destroyed race car. So you're going to hope that these guys are going to get as high as they possibly can in the corners and as low as they possibly can and lift even to give you the position on the straightaways. But some of these guys aren't going to give it up that easily with only nine to go now, 8 to go now. They're praying that there's a caution and they can have a chance at a decent finish. So I don't think they're going to lay over completely, but I don't think they're going to probably give them too much trouble here.
As here we come underneath the 72 of Dan Llewellyn. That's DL Lemon just in front. Now Llewellyn, oh no!
Oh, trouble! Same incident we saw at Stein, and this is possibly going to get a yellow, maybe not. Looks like Dyson's going to keep it under control.
He saved it, which is major kudos to him, but because he saved it, he doesn't get the yellow flag, so it's almost a curse to him that he saved it.
Yeah, and the worst part about this is as much as he saved it, right here you see him go through the pit road, and that is a black flag, sadly. So it's tough because, you know, even with that spin, he probably would have fell in line somewhere close to the bottom of the top 10 because of how far they were ahead of everyone. But now he's going to have to serve a black flag, and that's pretty much the end of his race.
Yes, it is. And we'll say the 21 there, I think that's Lucas Milges at the top. He backed off enough to not sacrifice Gitter's exit, which is a good sportsman-like move. But Gitter did drop back by about 3 car lengths or so. So now they're pretty much in clean real estate now. Of course, we do have to consider that we do have 3 green-white checkers on offer. But I am looking back at the various battles that we were looking at before, and I don't see anything in the limelight here that scares me, although DL Lemon nearly hit the fence there off of turn number 4. But gap around 0.3 of a second, so Benefield does have to pay mind to what's going on, but he has enough of a gap that he doesn't need to absolutely drive to the edge of control here. He can breathe just by a whisker.
Yeah, and like you said, not a lot of laps left in this race, and something I don't know if we touched on during the race so far. We have one car that is points leader right now, and that was Adam Benefield coming to this race. And like we said, he might not be racing for points, too important to him in this series, but with all these wins he's racking up so far this season and the good finishes he's had, the points are coming to him, and the points lead is just going to grow, it looks like, after this one.
Yeah, we didn't have a points graphic, and I didn't have enough time to put it together here, but obviously with Tanner Marty not having the greatest of overall seasons, he wasn't able to keep that point standings in the manner that he did achieve it here. But coming off of corner number 4, there will be no green-white checkers because Barney has the white gap about 3.5 of a second for for Benefield, pardon me. Pat Gitter led 168 laps here on the evening, but just didn't have enough for that Martin PC EPI Camaro ZL1 of Adam Benefield, our D2 points leader, gonna grab another win on the season and win here at the Monster Mile.
Yep, and get it right there behind him, like you said, dominated this race, just ran out of time there. Obviously, Benefield started in the back, and Getter was hoping he was going to stay there, but not able to hold on. 1-2-3 for Race EPI tonight. Good job by them with Matt Desiani in 3rd, Rob Carroll, another EPI driver, in 4th, and Lucas Abreu there, another elite driver in 5th. So those guys really strong tonight, and we're going to watch Adam burn it down.
They used to say in NASCAR, you know, win on Sunday, sell on Monday. Is that the same with setup shops? If a setup shop wins on Friday, does that mean they sell on Saturday? Well, perhaps the case. Benefield, a sissy burnout here that only lasted 0.3 of a second here, so doesn't give us much time to watch that, but it gives us time to go down trackside and blimp side even to give you the final rundown of results here today from the Dover Speedway. Motor Speedway. I'll remember that one of these days. Well, that's not what we want. Alright, results are broken, so we'll just have to do it this way. Benefield with the win, Gitter in 2nd, Disiani with 3rd, Rob Carroll at 4th, Lucas Abreu in 5th, Kyle Lehman with the 6th, Neil Pearson with the 7th, Tanner Marty 8th, Jamie Knopf in 9th, and then Dan Simmons with the 10th here. And what we're gonna do a little bit different, just because of the fact that things aren't working appropriately. We're just gonna go ahead and let those results continue to scroll by on the top of your screen, and we will go and start our post-race show here, and go ahead and find our race winner, who I'm sure is already situated here. Yes, he is. So let's get things queued up here, and Jeffrey, I'll give them to you here tonight, our race winner.
Hey, Adam, it's us up here in the booth. You got me?
Yeah.
Well, Adam, we, as you usually do, saw you start in the back of the field tonight, back there in the 30s, and you slowly, surely worked your way up to the front, got up into the top 10, then up in the top 5, and then stole the lead away from Getter on that last restart. What was it like driving through the field tonight and finally ended up in the lead?
I mean, it was pretty good. Learned a lot for tomorrow night. Really got some work to do, honestly, in my opinion. I'm not really liking the balance of the car, but we'll get it dialed in. But we were good. I mean, especially long run. Just this place, you gotta take care of your stuff to have anything on the back end, and kind of, you know, my cup of tea fits me very well. So you know, we had a good run. Don't really know what happened, or I really don't know what the hell Nick was doing. Got to him and tried to pass him, got blocked, backed out, tried to pass him again, got doored, and then I don't know what happened on the back straightaway, and I guess he just decided to pit out of nowhere, slid back up to the racetrack. I clipped him, and then he killed a bunch of people. So but I guess you know, you'll have that in big time sim racing, I guess. But it's pretty good. I heard you learned how to say my name finally.
Yeah, I think so, at least for now. Maybe next week I'll say it again with the D, but like
Stop
you said,
giving him the D.
like you said, you know, you learned a lot. You just still don't like the balance, but obviously you guys figured something out. And, you know, from up here in the booth, we don't know exactly how it goes, but how was it on these restarts? You know, obviously we saw a lot of people diving to the bottom, trying to get to that bottom lane. Was there really anything that you could make time up there in the second to third lane, or was it really just a one groove racetrack tonight?
Well, I mean, going back to saying we figured something out, we didn't figure anything out really. You can't figure out talent. It's just natural. It comes to you, you know, you got it when you're born. So, no figuring that out. It's there. No, you go to the third lane, you're dead. I mean, just basically like taking a block of cheese and running across a cheese grater. If you're up there that high, man, you got problems, and you should probably go to EPI and buy you a setup.
All right, you guys obviously doing great, sweeping the top 5, sweeping the top 6, I think, tonight, even with Kyle Hammond. Obviously you guys have a lot of people to thank, so I'm gonna let you go and thank everybody on your car right now.
Yeah, thanks Martin PC for being on board. Go check out Martin PC for all your PC needs and racing, sim racing equipment. Couldn't do this without them. EPI, Race EPI for the phenomenal car. I mean, it really is pretty good. Just a couple of things that I'd like it to do a little bit better, but overall it's pretty good. Obviously, I mean, like you said, we swept the top 6 minus 5th, I think. So that's pretty good. But you guys for broadcasting it. You know, God for gifting me with unbelievable driving talent, and getting to bless y'all every Friday and Saturday night with this greatness.
Well, thank you. That was Adam Benefiel with our finishing number 1 today. Again, second or third win on the season. Points lead will only expand after this one, and we congratulate you on that win tonight. Appreciate it.
Now I got probably the heartbreak of the race. Pat Gitter, you led, I think it was 168 laps here, but unfortunately falling to second on the podium here today to another EPI car in the form of Adam Benefiel. What's it feeling right now, man? It was yours, but just not so much on that last run.
Yeah, well, if not me, I'm glad one of our guys got it. I think Adam did a better job than I did, saving there the first 10 laps or so on that last run. And I saw him coming kind of, 40 laps to go, 30 laps to go, something like that. He was on the inside. I knew Dyson wasn't far behind, and I just thought, man, I don't want Adam and I to burn both of our stuff up just to let Dyson get around us at the end. So I was thinking maybe I'll fall in line and maybe I'll have, enough tires for him, save a little bit, come back at the end, but I just couldn't do it, man. Adam's so fast. But I'm just proud of the guys at Elite tonight. I mean, a heck of a showing by everybody. So just a good night.
Yeah, so all in all, I mean, it's losing to a champion. I mean, what are you going to do? He's obviously one of the best in the league. I mean, he pisses excellence and has the God-given talent, as he just made us aware here. But as I said, you had that great run, and you got back in that dirty air. Probably the first time all race that you had genuine competitive dirty air on the nose of that number 28 car. How much of that was the factor, or was it really just a matter of being gridlocked on times and you just didn't have enough pace difference to really get by him at the very end?
I think it's a combination of that. I knew when I got in dirty air, I was going to have to give him some space, give a few tenths to try to get some clean air, to get the car to rotate a little better off exit. Tried to do that for a little bit, but then towards the end of that run, I really started pushing with like 15 to go. And the closer I would get, the tighter I would get off exit. I'd try to go lane up, try to get a run off exit, and that didn't work. So at that point I was like, man, this is just not going to happen. So at this point I just got to defend. And Andrew Dyson, I saw he was coming. It looked like he got caught up with the lap car, unfortunately, but I think he and I probably would have been battling there at the end if that wouldn't happen. So yeah, just a combination of things there that led that at the end. But still proud of the second place tonight.
Yeah, Dyson's biggest flaw was he actually saved the car. If he got a caution flag, which he almost cost, he probably would have been right up there with you. But either way, man, solid run, second place. I know you've been pretty good here in D2 all season. Who do you want to give a shout out to if you haven't already?
Yeah, man, first and foremost, Elite Performance Industries. This has been, just for me personally, this has been one of my best weeks on the sim since I've been on here for 3 years. Our set is just completely dominated officials this week. Last I checked, we still had a world record on our set as of last night. So really competitive this week. So just shout out to Team Conti, Elite Performance Industries, and really our team as a whole. I mean, we've got such a good group over there. We all work together, share input, try to make the car as fast as we can, and just make everybody else, better. So shout out to those guys. Shout out to Martin PC. For anybody that's looking for computer accessories, hardware, custom builds, they do it all. So check those guys out. So too bad we couldn't put the Heartbeat of America Chevrolet up front, but happy with the P2 tonight.
Well, as they always say in the racing world, it's always next week, man. We'll see if you can get it done.
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for broadcasting.
And now third on the podium here tonight, Matt DeCunha, and Jeffrey has him.
Hey, Matt, it's Jeff up in the booth. You got me?
Hey, Jeffrey, long time no talk.
Yeah, we have not talked in a while, but tonight you were up front. You had fast pace. You had a lot of teammates around you, and you ended up coming home up there in third position. How was the racing tonight overall? We saw you, up there in the top 5. Then you dropped back a little, and then able to get back to the top 3 late in the race after some issues for Dyson. Did you feel like it was tough to pass out there? And if so, how hard was it to try to save and take care of your stuff, but also race hard on the restarts?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to pass, especially like early in the run, and it's honestly it's not worth it with the tires. It's really easy to burn the tires up here. But yeah, I mean, The goal is just be methodical. Tonight I learned this week in some other races that, you know, if you try to hold people off, sometimes it ends up hurting you more. So it's just, if they wanted to go, I let them go. And yeah, just patience. Yeah, probably only had a top 5 car. But, you know, Andrew hit his issue late. But yeah, you know, I'll take it.
Right, and like you said, you know, it was tough to pass. It was tough to get around people. It was just tough to be around some people out here. It looked like for some drivers. Or if you plan on racing tomorrow night, did you learn anything that you can try to take into that race tomorrow to try to do better in the actual full-length race?
Yeah, you know, I'll attempt to qualify tomorrow. Should be all right to make it. But yeah, I mean, any experience against, you know, like anytime I get to race against, you know, Patrick and, you know, Adam, it's always good to see, you know, what else I can do better as a driver, because, you know, they're on similar stuff. So, you know, I got some work to do, but yeah, it's definitely a good experience.
Sounds good. Well, another top 5 finish for you in the D2 series. I'm gonna roll the red carpet out and let you thank all of your supporters on that 04 car tonight.
Yeah, thanks to you guys for calling the race. Thanks to EPI Marco Conti putting us together a great setup this week. You know, shout out to Patrick, he had a great run tonight, and then shout out to Adam as well for getting the dub.
Sounds good. Well, we look forward to seeing you out there tomorrow night, and then out there next time we go racing with the D2 series, which I think is next week at Kansas. So we look forward to seeing you, and congratulations again on the top 3 finish.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
All right, well, that is going to be a broadcast here on PTR TV. 100% D2 series goes to Adam Benefield. Not a surprise here for the victory here tonight. Of course, stay tuned tomorrow to BRTV, Burnt Rubber TV, for the D1 race here, the 400 lapper at Dover. Probably the only 400 lap Dover race you'll see this weekend with the live weather forecast. So make sure you stay tuned to that. Of course, Monday we'll be back here on PTR TV with the SSRL Elite Cup Series, and Red Sox Racing League will be back with their new series on Thursday. We'll be right back next week, Friday at Kansas, for another 300 miler, I will have to presume. But that's Corey and Jeffrey signing out of the booth. Have a great night, and we'll catch you next time.